Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the live broadcast of the KALAS Cup, round number 6. We're out on the original race course of Zwift. I got alongside me Alex Rasmussen, and it is 5 laps of hilly Watopia. Alex, it's going to be fast, it's going to be fierce, it's going to be punchy. It's like this is one of the harder race courses, I think, because of the intensity of each and every lap when they go over that forward Watopia climb.
It's definitely going to be punchy right up out of the gate. After 1 kilometer, we hit the first climb, and we're gonna see it split into pieces. Basically, that's my prediction. It's gonna be so fast out of the gate, and everybody want to be in that position for the first climb up Watopia Hilly, and then it's just gonna be basically a race of nutrition to get to the finish line 5 times over
Did he
that
say
climb.
race of nutrition or race of attrition? I think it's a race of both.
It's gonna be both, yeah.
Over the top of that climb and the fact that it comes at you so incredibly quickly. I mean, it's like
Exactly.
it's there almost immediately. We do have about 26 seconds, it looks like, to the start of the men's race. We'll be jumping into the women's race as well. Now, if you do want to interact with the broadcast, you can do so. Make sure to jump on over to we are live on Twitch, Facebook, Mixer, as well as YouTube. We'll be bringing in the YouTube, Twitch, and Mixer feeds for your chat out there. So questions, comments, what you think about what is going on with the racing, making fun of myself and Alex, whatever it is that you want to bring to the table, go ahead and do so. And we will bring your questions and comments right on in as they seem appropriate. Now, as they do jump in, we did say immediately from the gun, we were going to be seeing most likely a pretty intense kick out here up and over the top of the Watopia forward climb. This is turning out to be the race of the week as well. We've seen time and time again so far that all of the big esports teams are showing up. It's been the Canyon ZCC show, though. We saw last week that amazing lead out. It's been talked a lot about this past week from Canyon ZCC. It seemed like they've really got a well-oiled machine there when it comes to lead outs. But because of the punchiness of this course, this is one course where we may see a breakaway situation, I would think.
Yeah, I would expect the last time over the climb. We just got to remember, just want to put that in here. There's also 3, 2, 1 points every time they pass the finish banner. And the last time over the hilly climb, there's 6, 4, and 2 points. So that's going to motivate people even more to go hard over the last climb. But they do have 8 kilometers from the top to the finish line. So it's a little bit of a longer drag if you go out there solo. So I would expect a group of 2 or 3 if they want to stick away or keep the gap. Otherwise, it's gonna be James Phillips' show again for the 6th time in a row.
I think you're correct, though, because of the reality of this this points over the top each and every climb 5 times. There's a lot of motivation to come over the top in first place here, grab those points in the overall series. So I would not be surprised whatsoever if we do see some pretty serious attacks over here. As we do get right on into it, 8% uphill gradient right now. Vidar Mail, he's probably going to be the climber here from the KALAS team that we're looking at in the orange actual kit, actually, because he grabbed the fastest jersey, it looks like, around the Watopia forward on the day. Ollie Jones from Canyon making his way to the forward. It looks like it's going to be Talbot here, though. Now, from the indoor specialist, as they hit the flatter part, it's kind of a little bit of a 2-tier climb. First part of it does take about 30 seconds or so, 45 seconds. Now we're heading into the second part, 7%. And this is really where it matters to not get dropped off. If there were any gaps opened up early on here, look, you were right. Immediately from the get-go, we are seeing gaps starting to form here. Talbot, West, Vang, Patterson, Jerkses there, Coles now, Boniface now coming across here. There's a little jitter, I think, and a little worry in some of the riders here who are pretty far back. We'll see if they can grab on. If it gets too strung out and one rider lets a gap go, races could be over very quickly here.
Yeah, I've seen this on this Watopia Hilly climb before. We've seen the peloton pretty much split in half after 2 kilometers. So I would expect to see less than 100 riders when we pass the finish line the first time, or even like after a K after the climb here. So we can see it's already stretched out. So I hope people warmed up pretty good before this, because you don't have those 10Ks like you have on Richmond, where you can just get into the rhythm of things, get your heart rate down, like get the legs fresh for the climb. So here's pretty much full gas straight out of the gate.
We are seeing indoor specialists actually really on the move here right now. A lot of the orange and light blue kits here. It looks like Dig Deep Coaching here, indoor specialist and Dig Deep Coaching rider Dan Fleeman now also making his way to the front. Carstensen is there as well, it looks like. And from what I can see, there is almost a gap being opened up here. The heart rates are high, 173 I'm seeing here. Digner here now from Canyon, 168. Moving my way backwards here, I'm going to see if any of these riders that are almost in that gap that looks to be about forming are starting to suffer. Zimmerman right at the back here, the Vikings here, and here is the gap we were talking about. Altidal from KALAS now coming across. He's going to have to shut this down immediately. Looks like he is doing just that. 38 riders making it here. 3 seconds back. There's Gray. Stevie Young caught out. 6'5" here coming from the sprinter here. Looks like he's going to come across. Are they going to push the pace at the front, though? That's going to be the question, because if they do, they may be able to open up a gap here, Alex.
Yeah, but it's a long way to the finish line, so I think we're going to see a pretty easy period until they hit the climb next time. We're going to probably reach more than halfway point before we're going to start to see people pushing the pace after the climb. So I would expect the third or fourth time over the climb, you could actually push the pace and just keep the pace high in the front, especially if you have some good climbers there for the final lap.
Now we are seeing from the front end here, Carstensen for the Vikings team now starting to take over. And it looks like things are most likely going to be calming down here in just a moment, as we do head into for the women's side of things, actually. It looks like I do have, from what I can see, our feed here, Claudia Berry and Leah Thorvaldsen from Team Turbo here heading into the climb right now on the women's side of things. I can follow along with it. We do have interesting some of the avatars names not loading, but we'll be able to follow along, and I'll be able to call out what's happening in the women's race as well. It does look like 21 riders have showed up in the women's race. Kristen Falk, I believe, is really, excuse me, not Kristen Falk, one of the Canyon ZCC riders, actually, if I'm thinking correctly here, out of Norway, is out there. I think Claudia Berry out there in support of the rider right now. I'm going to jump over here real quickly here. So this is the current situation, but we got a lot of orange jerseys for some reason. So we'll see if we can deal with that in a moment or two. But it's going to be Leo Thorvaldsen and Claudia Berry, the ones that we can follow along with. But we'll be back in with that in just a few moments. We'll see if we can get a reset on those jerseys here. But now back in with the men's situation here, though, and it is calmed right on down. Top, has there been a split here, Alex? I'm not seeing. I think, is that all 146 or 100?
No. There's like 70 people left in the front group, 67 actually. So it really split the peloton in half, like I predicted. And it's probably going to be a lot less that's going to get dropped the next time, because these guys are actually the guys that can climb over the hilly Watopia climb. But just amazing to see 146 at the start, and after 2 kilometers, it's half the peloton is left.
Yeah, and some of the bigger names I was not expecting to be seen drop. Cunningham, very strong rider in here from the dropouts team off the back. We've seen him very involved in races before. Some of the DBR riders, Viking riders here, SCR we're seeing here. This is kind of a no joke situation here, that's for sure, as far as who's been dropped off. Sandvik from the Vikings here as well. But as you can see here, Schwartz, is he in trouble? 1 second. This is not a situation. Up and out of the saddle. No, Schwartz got a kick here. 152 and jumping right back on. But he's just showing us how many people have made it. 68. You see that he dropped far enough off the back so we can see exactly how many people have made it into the race out here today. So Mike Schwartz, Rick Forrest there as well. Stinger there toward the back here. Talbot there from the indoor specialist. Looks like everybody's calming right on down. Now, through the Essies, though, is it punchy enough? 68 riders? I don't think so. And I think most of the riders, because of the intensity of that forward Watopia climb, at this point, are going to maybe be thinking about. They could prove me wrong, though. And if there's a team that is strong enough and wants to put some other teams on the back foot, really, this next section, which is, the Essies, these punchy climbs, this could be a section that the teams could attack through and set their GC riders up for something over the top of the Watopia forward climb. If you put the pressure on through here, it really can sap the legs for some of the other teams.
Yeah, as we see here, there's also the sprint at the sprint banner for 3, 2, 1 points. So that's going to motivate it even more, animate the peloton. So it's going to be hard going into the climb or to the SS here. And they're going to be able to, if they want to, if there's a team, they're going to be able to stretch it out over. And also because this is the section you normally attack on the flat Watopia. But because they have the hilly climb, you would expect them to calm down a little bit here. So sometimes it's better to attack where it's not expected, and I think this could prove to be the section, especially on the second last lap. Then you can actually split the peloton before you even hit the hilly climb for the last time.
Interesting to see here. Berg, it looks like, as well as Mayo, Lursveen here, Dovine, Boniface, Phillips, Kalman from Fusion, all off the front, actually, through that sprint section. Just as you had said, there could be a split specifically because of that. And so looking through here now, I am seeing Dovine, though, from Team Experimental, looking to have shut things down along with the rest of the group there. Cole's there still now as well, but it does look like some sprint points were grabbed. We're going to be following along over at ZwiftPower.com for the duration of the race. For those of you that are maybe unfamiliar and you want to know what we're talking about there, ZwiftPower.com is where all of the community racing is tracked. Head on over to it and you can check out the live tracker there. You can also see all of the series results for all the series that are being run out on Zwift. So as we do follow along over there, we'll be able to bring up some pretty cool updates that they've had as of the last 3 to 6 months, and specifically for events like this, with live updates around the KOMs and the sprints, which actually gives us an idea of how things are working out for the race, actually, when it comes to those extra points.
Yeah, and just quickly want to correct myself on the points. So it's 3, 2, 1 points on the sprint banner each lap. On the KOM, it's only the final lap that gives 6, 4, and 2 points according to the event description.
Final lap, KOM, 6, 4, and 2. And it sounds like 5 laps out here, 56:24 is the time that we're looking at for the front 68 riders that have made this lead pack here at this point. Things calming right on down as we head on through the underground there for a moment, the little tunnel there for a moment. That was the section that we all get a little bit of jitters around as we come into the final race stretches. How many race stretches have we seen here specifically on this course? So many of them. And this is when we come into that final lap, if there is going to be a large pack, right about here is where things will most likely be launching. But as we go along the beach there, some of the running paths on the left-hand side, and they'll be coming underneath the banner here with 4 to go. 68 riders making the lead group. Looking at the live results right now, it is nothing but in the red, over people's thresholds, over and over again is what I'm seeing here. And to hang on, I think the highest workhorse here, Dan Fleeman's put out 5.2 watts per kilogram for the duration of this race. Morton Vang, 5.4. Some of these climbers out here definitely well into the red.
Yeah, and talk about a fast sprint. We were talking about it the last time in New York, where it was actually going flat and then it was actually going down 3-4% the final 200 meters. This is the exact opposite. It starts going down really like 3-4%. So you get into the sprint going 60-65, and then it flattens out the last 300 meters. So it's going to be interesting to see if that's going to change the strategy of the lead out, especially for Canyon. How early is Phillips going to go? How early is the team going to go?
Yeah, it's a very good question, actually. With those extra points on the line, if we take a quick look, the reality of the series overall is going to change a lot of the tactics, as it always does in these series situations. James Phillips currently with 170 points. He's got 4 wins to his name in this series out of 5 events. It is your best of 7. So there's opportunity for some of the other riders to catch up, because it is only him and Martin Olsen from Team SZ that do have 5 races in at this point. With the best of 7, there's a lot of opportunities still to come in the series, though. But for the points situation in the Norwegian racing as well, because there is a Norwegian only, KALAS is dominating, 135. Christian Alftadal there, 129. From what I see, Martin Rose Almdahl there with 122. So it looks like those are actually separated out a little bit. Martin Rose Almdahl here for the international. So that's where they're only racing each other, though. That's how they're separating out. That's interesting. So they actually pull all of the international riders out of the results and then do results only off of those out of Norway, it looks like.
Yeah, that's the system that they implemented. But I think for sure for Team KALAS, the GC standing for the international standing is also really really important. And they've seen James Phillips how dominant he is in the sprint. So I'm expecting KALAS to really mix things up here, especially the last time, because they don't want to bring him to the line because they haven't been able to beat him so far in the last 4 rounds.
This is an extremely brave effort here coming from the man, Gavin Dempster, actually, winner of the London event 2 years ago, the live event, and he has got a kick, that's for sure. He can also TT pretty dang well. In real life, he's got some results specifically on solo efforts here, and Dempster now 6.4 watts per kilogram coming from Continuity. Diegner here from Canyon, maybe seeing that this is an opportunity. No, he's just driving the pace here along with Alex West, it looks like. This is a workhorse at this point. That's exactly what is going on here because Canyon wants to shut this down. I think Canyon wants us to come to the line because it has been proven so far. And Olsen, second overall, he sees an opportunity here. It's starting to open up because of Stevie Young and James Phillips, the two sprinters. If they can't hang on, then we're starting to see the signals. We're starting to see the flags out there that perhaps we see a chink in the armor of Canyon ZCC. And Martin is seeing that. Second overall, if he goes across to Dempster, he's got all the motivation in the world to make this happen, but indoor specialists, they're shutting it down. It looks like Canyon also has another team that is willing to work.
Yeah, I love seeing this because this is the strategy I want to implement if you want to beat James Phillips. You want to put the pressure on from the beginning. You can't just do it the last lap. You know he's going to be able to hang full gas one lap over the hilly climb. He's going to be able to hang on. But if you put the pressure on each and every lap, you're just going to put small dents into his armor, and then eventually he's going to break. And that's what we're seeing here. And it's great from Dempster that he's actually motivating the race to be much more aggressive. Otherwise, we could see Canyon basically just take control, go like say 80% on around the threshold of Phillips every time over the climb, and they're going to be able to take him to the line. It's basically like seeing they want to bring Cavendish to the line when you see HCC back in the days when they were bringing him to the line. Just put tempo in the front, and then people can attack left and right, but you still have a strong team that are going to be able to pull anything back for the final lap.
We are seeing a gap here now, 4 seconds at this point. I don't think this is coming back. Having to put out 7 watts per kilogram, barely. We'll see here, Martindale here coming out of the UK, 61 kilometers per hour. Maybe be able to close this down. There's a little bit of an uphill grind here in just a second. Maybe able to make something happen, but as you can see, the mayhem that was thrown down on that Watopia forward there has dropped another 1, 2, 3. It looks like 6 riders off the back here at this point. D. Larson here coming out of Sweden here in no man's land, as you can see now. Richards there, 3R. Gray from KALAS UK now as well. Martindale here just able to grab back on. Did not give a wheel to his fellow chasers though. And on this, because it's about to hit those negative percentage in the gradients here in just a moment, I believe this may be it that makes it back on because the speeds are about to get very high in this pack.
Yeah, this is the last chance to get back on. Here you can actually super tuck on the 2 small descents where it goes to like -7%. So here you want to be able to super tuck and just rest a little bit, get your heart rate down under control, because it's not a really long recovery you have. You have like 2 kilometers until you hit the sprint, and then you have the S's, and then you have to be focused again. So there's really not a lot of recovery on this course here.
Looking through here, James Phillips, as you can see, Canyon. This is the current series leader here with 5 racers in right now, 170 points. His threat out there, Olsen, did give a go off the front. It does look like Olsen is at the front end of the pack right now, as we just saw his name tag there. Luke G. Now, a quick little message I got through over on Facebook, actually, from Brett Boniface, teammate now of Luke G, actually. And Luke, he's been showing up to the KALAS Cup week a couple of weeks in a row now at this point. It looks like he picked up on a lot of the racing in the racing series here through the Koa Sports race, the Warrior race that we have on Thursday nights that we do broadcast. And you know, it's good to see that being a part of the broadcast and the esports team got him on the radar, it looks like. And the dropouts have picked him up now at this point. So dropouts here, getting a serious squad, specifically the words of Boniface and I believe Schwartz there as well, saying, look, we're here to race. And I think that squad is going to start to be ones to watch out for amongst this indoor specialist, Canyon ZCC, you know, the teams that are kind of the major threats on the scene at this point. I see as well. KALAS obviously there in and amongst it. The Vikings a little quieter lately. Maybe dropouts here starting to come into those higher tiers though.
Yeah, I think definitely glad you mentioned KALAS. I think they're really picking it up as well. They're starting to be able to almost compete with Canyon. I would still say Canyon is probably the best team at the moment and indoor specialist, but KALAS is really picking up the pace, and their level is also increasing, and they're also bringing new guys in all the time. So it's going to be really, really competitive. It's already been really competitive this season, but it's just going to get even more competitive as the sport grows even more.
And questions coming on through here. This is a great question, actually, for those that may be unfamiliar. And Super Tuck in Zwift, yes. And that is, there's a specific time, and that is exactly right. Coming in here from Isaac A. Young, that when you are on a negative 3% gradient or more at 35 miles per hour or higher, for my silly my silly imperial ways over here. But when you're at 35 miles per hour or higher on a negative 3% gradient, you stop pedaling, and if you hit 0 watts, you get into a super tuck, and it actually gives you what is like an aero power up. A little bit weaker than
Exactly.
that, but it's like an aero power up that gives you some extra speed. We do see a little bit of kick here. Now, you did say this was going to be a threat for extra points here. Canyon with the lead out here. Stevie Young Phillips is now going.
Phillips is
Interesting
going
to
for
see. Phillips wants these points. He doesn't want anybody coming anywhere near, because with the best out of 10 here, but it's going to be Brett Boniface now. 13 watts per kilogram comes on through. Phillips, I think, for second place. Young coming on in for third. And there are points on the line here, boys and girls, through those seconds, and they're not giving them up easily. They want every single one of these points that they can get. No risks being taken here in the KALAS Cup round number 6. Pretty
But
cool
James,
to see.
James Phillips is really clever the way he's sprinting. He's really not going all out. He's taking some easy, like relatively easy 2 points here.
Not all out. What did he start? It's all like 15. He's not going all out. 15 watts. No big deal. And I think you're correct. I think you're right. No big deal. Just 15 watts per kilogram.
Yeah, just wait till the final sprint, then you're gonna see if James Phillips go all out. But he's really clever about taking these points if he can, but he's not gonna go all out because this is a really long race and he doesn't want to kill himself. I like seeing the tactics and that they don't just go full out for these sprints. It is only 3-2-1 point, but it's still valuable in the end. So it's worth going for. And speaking of super tuck, it is my favorite part of Zwift. I do love a good super tuck.
I do love, because you get free speed, most likely. That's exactly what this is all about here. Alex Rasmussen. All right, so Alex, looking at some of the chat here, I'm seeing Boniface saying that he's going all out. I think you may be right though. Phillips backing off maybe just a little bit there. I'm looking at the sprint situation here. Sprint number 2 was taken by Boniface. Phillips did come through for second place. It looks like Stevie Young for third, Vidar Mail, and then Morten Vang. That is the top 5. In the first time around on the sprint forward, Johnny Doving actually grabbed the points. Stevie Young, Brett Boniface, then James Phillips. So Doving from Team Experimental may be looking to get involved in the overalls a little bit more here. I'm looking through the standings. Doving currently sitting in 14th place. Those extra points with 3 races and 55 points, he's got a lot of opportunity to gain some points. There is a lot of wiggle room here for some of these racers. We said Martin Olsen, the only rider who's really a threat at this point, but that may only be because of the lack of races for some of the other riders, that they're allowing their best of 7 to kind of fill up over the weeks and not racing KALAS Cup week in and week out. So every point still matters at this point, I think, for Canyon ZCC to be grabbing, because they do see some of those in the top 10, maybe just outside the top 10, who only have maybe 3 or 4 races with the opportunity to grab a lot of points over the coming weeks.
Yeah, that's true. That's definitely something that's on their radar as well. And we also see Boniface climbing up towards that 3rd place. I think he's going to be able probably to take it. He's taking those intermediate points, so he could actually get into 3rd place before even the finish of this race if he keeps going for the intermediate sprints. And especially the last time over the KOM, where we have 6, 4, and 2, that's going to be a lot more important. So we're going to see pretty much the peloton go not all out, but they're going to go hard for that sprint.
Yeah, and we are seeing for the sprints, for the KOMs as well, we do have some information here. It looks like Talbot, first time over around. Gavin Dempster, obviously. Martin Olson, though, did take the second time over the top. So that's going to be, so you said each time over, you were
No,
saying it is
the last time over the KOM. That's the
only
six
the
four and
last
two.
time.
Yeah,
Only the last time.
according
Not
to
every
event
time.
description. No, but the sprint banner is every time 3, 2, 1.
Sprint banner is every time. Got it. But it's only the last time over. That's going to really change some things up. That last lap
Exactly.
is going to have 3 different places, that's including the finish line, to grab points for that overall. Quick little pickup here. We do have quite a bit of national champions actually in the race out here today. We are seeing Camille here out here. We are seeing, it looks like, the UK national champion, obviously, with James Phillips. Vidar Mail is out here. The Danish national champion maybe not
Yes.
showing up out here today, or is he out
there.
here?
He's there. I've seen him. Alexei Kalman is there. The Danish champion
Kalman
is there
is
as
out
well.
here as well. So, I mean, we have some of the, obviously, as far as individuals go as well, a lot of Palmares out here today. And now we do see Holden now making his way to the front. There is the U.S. champion. It's been kind of quiet from him so far on the day, but I think he is also one that maybe just be waiting for the sprint out here today, as we see the red, white, and blue. Now making the way to the front, though, it's going to be Berg along with Dempster again. Now, I was told Dempster did do the 11-lap Ford Watopia. It was kind of a warm-up maybe for this. 11 laps, KISS 100 over the weekend. And I'm not sure if he actually took the wind out there today, this last weekend. But this is a rider who's obviously very familiar with this climb after doing it for 100 kilometers this past weekend. Luke G now following it up. Vidar Mail. Also, the climbers here, I think, are really looking to make something happen. I don't think they want to wait up. It is 3 laps to go. I'm seeing the questions coming through here. 46 kilometers. 5 laps out here today. It is 3 laps to go. And I think the climbers are going to have to put the pressure on at this point. 7+ to the top, I think, is what we need to see to really break the rest of this pack down. They've seen it work. I think there's motivation out here today because they have seen the results of putting some effort in on these climbs. They've seen that the pack maybe not able to hang on. If they can get some chasers, they need 2 or 3 more to go with them, though. Boniface here, Vang, maybe Coles now from Indoor Specialist to go along. But they're calming down. I think some of the riders are really starting to hurt, and they're like, I don't know if I want to risk my race at this point. I'm much more comfortable in a large pack that I can roll along with.
Exactly. I think it's the 5 laps that makes the pack go a little bit more easy, but I like that Dempster. He really seems to enjoy this climb. You said he did it 11 times, and he just seems to really, really love this climb. But it does put the pressure on the peloton because they eventually, like, if he keeps doing this, they have to shut it down. So they can't just sit back in the peloton and just relax. So I think it's going to definitely be the reason that you're going to drop maybe 10 to 20 riders extra before the final lap instead of going easy over each and every time.
Now look at this here, Luke along with Dempster here, dropouts here and draft, the two teams with maybe a little less firepower in the race out here today, especially draft. I've only seen Dempster here actually, and so 10-second difference here at this point. If it goes out to 15, this is a threat. But with the downhill section here, they're going to have to put on a serious kick over the next little kicker.
And they have to stick together as well. They really
I know.
have to
Look
stick
at
together.
this. Look at. I mean, there's a situation here. I think Dempster is really suffering here, and maybe saying, this isn't going anywhere, Luke. Let's back off here at this point.
Yeah, that could be the reason. But if they want to make it stick, if you have 2 guys, you can actually get that little draft, and that you need those 10, 20 seconds where you can just sit on. And it looks like Dempster has decided just to go back to the peloton. If you go solo here, it's pretty much a suicide mission. But if you're 2 or 3 guys, I would expect 2 or 3 strong climbers, the second last or the last time, to be able to actually make it to the finish line.
Now, I do see the questions coming on through here for the women's side of things. We do have some video. We've got we don't want to highlight it too much or anything here, but we do have a little bit of a bug on the feed, though, with only a couple of the riders' names coming on through. We just have Zwifters on the others. So we're going to see if we can work on that. And we do see Claudia Baring, Levan Thorson from Turbo have both made it. We'll get some updates as well from the live results over on Zwift Power, it does look like, as far as who has made it, it is going to be 7 riders. Falling off a few of them here at this point, but it does look like Canyon as well as Turbo have made the front group. I know Team Revo, I know you're out there, and as well as Turbo and Canyon ZCC. What's going on with the women's racing? But we've got a little bit of video issues there that we definitely want to figure out here before we bring in any more of that feed. But as far as who has made that front group, Alex, it looks like for the women's side of things, it is, I would think Kristen Falk, Vicky Whitelaw, Claudia Baring, Rachel Elliott for KISS Racing Team, I would think would be in there. Louis Furzon. These are the racers who are all in that top 5 situation right now.
And quickly go to the front in the men's. I'm just falling on the other screen. We have Boniface and Luke. So we have double Maple Leaf going off the front. And this looks like a serious attack, actually. I'm pretty excited. This could kind of stick because Boniface is really going for it.
Looking through here on the men's side of things, was that actually on the downhill situation now? And
yeah, he came over the top, so he just basically closed the gap in 5 seconds, and now they're double Canadian off the front.
So it looks like it is going to be, and Luke was actually, I would not be surprised if this is Luke alongside of, and it is going to be Luke. He was off the front. Boniface went across to him. We missed it there for a moment. Apologies on that. And it looks like it is going to be Boniface and Luke G off the front. 177 beats per minute here currently coming from Luke, and looking to get some recovery. 166 here from Boniface now. 4 seconds.
This could be for the intermediate points. I wouldn't expect I could see him just going for those 3 points really, really early.
And that's not a bad call there actually at all, being that in the overall here, Boniface is a threat. He's currently sitting in 4th overall at 81 points, but with only 3 races in. If he grabs some extra points here, 3 points each lap, 2 points, I mean, that's really going to matter at the end of the day. Being only 3 races in, if he gets a couple of wins, that's 70 points. At that point, it only puts him, with the points he's gained today, that only puts him 20 points behind Phillips with still 4 rounds to go.
And look at Ollie Jones just closing it down. They don't want to give him too many points. So Canyon is taking charge and responsibility in the peloton and closing this down.
This is team tactics at its best, because Ollie is going to jump on and snipe the points away from Boniface. And Canyon says, go, send another. I mean, they're just so... It's so great. And we see Dean Cunningham not happy with the situation after getting dropped off in the first little bit of the race here. Now we do see Dignity Coach. It does look like Fleeman here. Indoor specialists are not involved in this break here at this point. They're looking for some points out here as well. And they're going across here. 8 watts per kilogram here coming from Fleeman to stay involved. Stevie Young following it up. Phillips. Is Phillips going to sprint this as well? I mean, he's sitting in at 7 watts per kilogram here. He's getting a draft up to the racers here at this point. It's all shut down going into the final few meters here for
200
the sprint
meters
section.
here. He could take it.
And he's perfectly set up. He's almost at the front. Luke G now giving it a go, though it looks like 8 watts per kilogram, but they're going to need in the double digits here. Ollie Jones starts to open up 9 watts per kilogram here. Where's Phillips? 7. I think they're all pretty burnt out at this point. That's a lot of attacking after the Watopia Ford. Phillips, no major kick, and they let him roll across the line. Phillips, the series leader. I mean, Canyon just shuts everything down, sets him up, and he doesn't even have to put an effort out, really.
I think he did put an effort out. It just didn't look like that on the avatar. But like you said, it wasn't like a full-on effort. It was just kind of, he let the team just close the gap, and then he was just perfect position to just roll on through to take the points.
Now, all of these teams over and over again, as you could see, putting some work in, and in order to almost, I'm not going to say a distraction, those 3 points, 2 points, 1 point on the sprint section, but there could be a couple of riders here that have been very quiet up until this point that might start to take advantage of this infighting for those extra points. Look, Adam Zimmerman, Evoke. I haven't seen a lot from them so far. We did see just for a moment ago, SZ Olsen was toward the front there as well. If he's not hurting and can start taking advantage of some of the matches being burned, the Vikings have been fairly quiet up until this point. Or has the pace just been so insane and how incredibly difficult that Watopia forward climb is each and every lap? Are a lot of these riders just... I mean, that's what it was like for me. I did the KISS 100 on this. I did the KISS 100 Europe this past weekend. Dempster was not in there, luckily for me, as I think he did the Americas. And essentially, I was just trying to hang on until the climb every lap. Like that was all I cared about. And I think a lot of the riders at this point are just thinking about that. It's going to be your, second tier, that A+ rider that's really the cream of the crop of this peloton that can recover that quickly. That's even going to be thinking about attacks other than that point, I would think.
I think you're right. I think it could be both. I think like half the peloton is just struggling to stay on, and that's basically just their goal, just to get to the finish line with this pack. And then we have another half that are racing for the intermediate sprints that are attacking on the climb. But I have seen, I would say, like Kalman and Vidar two of the champions. If they just sit on, don't participate in any of the sprints, any of the infights, they could actually go on that climb and create a gap. So if you have anything left, that would be my tactic. If I just were really good climber, I would just wait for the final time over the helicopter. First of all, I have the 6 points on the top, so that's already a motivation, and then just keep going, and then you force Canyon to close it down.
It's a great call, actually. If they did do so here, with these final 2 laps to go here, I think anybody with some matches, from some of these teams with any really riders that any of the domestiques, any of the workhorses that are out there that are not going to be a part of that final lead out. We need to see them give a go. We need to see them start to try and, again, put a chink in that armor, see them try and break Canyon in some sort of way, break Indoor Specialist perhaps in some sort of way. I think those are the 2 teams we really need to be watching out for. KALAS, I think, as well. I'm not saying it's a long shot at all for KALAS to take the win out there. Martin Olsen, I mean, he's been hanging on, and he's kind of played this, this role where he can just grab any team's wheel and find a way to make it happen. But, with IS, with so many of these orange and light blue jerseys in here, as well as of obviously pink and purple, we're going to need to see some of these other teams here. Brian Hodges here, Evoke, a team that's been fairly quiet to this point. Is he going to be waiting for a kick to the line? We used to say that he was one of the strongest sprinters out on Zwift here, but James Phillips, I think, has been starting to take over that role again. But we're going to have to see some attacks here if they're going to break the sprinters.
Another rider we haven't talked much about is also Kirchmeier. He hasn't been showing himself. He's just been sitting on, relaxing, maybe a little bit suffering, but definitely he has a shot at the end. He could sprint, but I would say probably go a little bit earlier, because he'd been beaten by Phillips so many times now. So if he really wants to go for the win, he has to try something different.
Yeah, and as we head into the final climb, it looks, or not the final climb, the penultimate climb, excuse me, we do see Boniface toward the back, resting up. He's been extremely aggressive throughout the race here. Dropouts, they've been off the front over and over again for that TV time. And it's good to see them being really aggressive in the race and activating the race and keeping it, pretty aggressive and not just steady tempo, that's for sure. Toward the back, we do see it looks like one of the DBR riders there as well as we head into the sharpest part of the climb. It does look like KALAS with Morten Vang here making his way to the front there. We did see 8 watts per kilogram just a moment there from Stinger. Now on the front of the pack, though, it is going to be Brooks. Vang is there now from the KALAS team with the new kit in game. Good to see. Looking good. I just picked up on that because it's the red and the black here. So good to see that KALAS has gotten their kit in game here. Dempster, just in time, it looks like, for the Tour of Watopia, I would think. Out on that is going to be starting this Sunday. So Vang now, KALAS on the front. Excuse me, Vang not on the front there. Dempster on the front there, but Vang looking to close it down there to him. It looks like Zwift Team Poland, Waldemar, has been hanging on pretty well here. It looks like he's fade climbing to the back, though, at this point, as we do see the pink and purple kit there of one of the Canyon ZCC riders. Now, KALAS now taking over to close things down. A gap, though. Dempster, this boy wants to climb today. Every lap. Puts down the pressure.
He does love that climb, Nathan. But what do you think about KALAS's tactic of just closing it down, pretty much helping Canyon, I would say, instead of maybe going across and getting away? Vang is just sitting on the front and pretty much helping out Phillips towards the finish line.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, actually. We did see 3 of the riders there, all 3 of the red and black there with the K's on there. It's not something I would expect for them because I'm not sure that they have the sprint up against, three of these teams, Evoke, Canyon, as well as Indoor Specialists. I think all three of those teams have proven themselves over time to be stronger sprinting teams. Maybe they're saying, yeah, right, Nathan. We'll see in a moment here. But there could be a reality that they have something up their sleeves there. But in my opinion, either it's just too hard. Dempster is just so strong on the climb, and they just can't follow. Or they're trying to follow, and 6.5 watts per kilogram, which is a lot, 4 laps in at this point, is just too much, and everybody can kind of follow those climbers. So the pure climbing of KALAS here may be struggling a little bit. Now there's a gap here now at this point. Boniface, along with Coles, looking to get involved. Brooks from Vision here is only 1 second back. I think they may throw their hands in the air in just a moment here. Boniface does go across. It is still 1 second. They're going to have a serious kick. And interesting to see Brooks here. I see this a lot from Brooke. Shutting these things down, almost like he's working for the other teams. And he's the sole Vision rider here. Maybe he just likes to keep things difficult. And Boniface, though, he did get a gap on the last lap in this section. And so we might see that happen again here, as he did get that. He had a little bit of breathing room. He saw some daylight for a moment, and perhaps that motivated him because he does not want to be involved in just a pure sprint. Now, this is a rider, though, Boniface, who can sprint. We've seen him involved in the final top 5. So interesting to see he's burning so many matches.
Yeah, I think you're right, because we're just looking at the avatars, and we don't know if Morten Mang was actually just trying to go with Dempster, and he just couldn't push anymore, because we're kind of guessing with the avatars when they sit down. They're still doing 6-7 watts per kilo, but they're just not out of the seat. But like at home on the smart trainer, they're probably pushing everything they got to close the gap to Dempster. So it's just something we're kind of guessing when they go up the hill every time, if they're going all out or they're like sitting at threshold.
Good question. That's a great point, actually. Now, another comment coming on through here from Isaac, following up on his comment about the Super Tuck. Here's hoping they implement a Superman position, maybe as a reward. We've got skins in game. We've got new bikes. We've got kits that you can open up. But it would be pretty cool if we had some of the avatars able to do new movements, specifically that you could open up in the game. That'd be absolutely awesome. New emotes in game would be great. I'm loving the
also celebrations when you win. We need some celebrations for the winner.
New celebrations would be amazing as well. And as the updates come down the way, I have a feeling that Zwift it's something that they want to do. And I'm hoping that we see it sooner than later, some of that stuff. So we are seeing Bessett from Revo saying she's sick today and not racing, living vicariously. Bessett Revo, thanks a lot for jumping into the broadcast, and we well wishes to you and hope you get well. All right, as we head into the last lap and a half, though, we're 40 minutes into racing here. We've got in the front runners here, it looks like still is about 50 riders that have made this front group still in the live results from what I can see right now. We've got, right around 50 riders, a little bit over that. And out of all these riders, we'll start getting some predictions coming through here. As I think this is going to be the main group. Are we going to see a breakaway situation? Have we seen, is there going to be anybody who can really put the kind of climb in to put enough time on the rest of this group? They're Indoor Specialist, Canyon in here. I think it just might be too much for some of these other teams without enough bodies to throw at them. Essentially. But will there be a breakaway? If there is, let us know. What's your prediction? Is anybody going to get away? Who's going to win the sprint out today? Is it going to be the James Phillips show, the Canyon ZCC show again, or are we going to see an upset here? And is Phillips going to be unthrown from that spot? And this is not just a James Phillips show in this series as well. I think he's won everything that I have broadcasted for the last month and a half or something that he has been in. So I think the odds at this point from what we have seen is Phillips, but I think some of the other riders here are maybe getting a little bit sick of it. They might just
Yeah.
be like, look, we got to do something about this. And they're in the weight room like, all right, I need some track sprint in my legs to take this guy down. You know what I mean? I think some of these riders are like, what do we got to do? And after last week's lead out train, we maybe some of these teams have been practicing as well. Like, how are we going to do what we saw Canyon do last week?
Yeah, that's a good point. It's not just the James Phillips show. It's actually the Canyon show. It is a team effort, and they are doing a great thing, like a great team tactic, shutting everything down. Even the small things like the lead out for the intermediate sprints, which is coming up. We see them just doing everything perfectly, just letting James Phillips through. They're not taking any points away from him, so they're really working for him in every situation. And then over the top of the climb, they just go on the front and they go threshold or maybe a little bit above, and then they shut everything down. So he can just sit in the peloton, and he's almost 100% sure that his team is going to bring it back, unless you see something crazy from KALAS.
We do see things opening up a little bit there for the sprint. A couple of riders. Phillips, it looks like, was involved maybe for a top 3 there. So still grabbing points through the sprint section. James Phillips, your series leader, showing why he deserves to be in that spot, not leaving anything to chance. Vidar Mail now making his way to the front for KALAS here. Now they do have a gap. Boniface staying involved at the front. Indoor specialist now shutting things down. Will be Talbot here, 8 watts per kilogram. And after those little bit of attacks, this may be an opportunity. This could be a 1 lap to go flyer. It is a 9.1 kilometer loop each and every lap here, right around 5 miles. So, 5 mile TT, not impossible if you get enough of a gap here, but the group just travels along so incredibly fast. The riders would really have to settle down and start looking at each other, saving up some energy. Boniface now kicking into 5 watts per kilogram, though. Looks like he wants a little bit of daylight here, keeping things active on the front. And the dropouts now maybe trying to get involved again. Probably your most aggressive rider on the day, I would say, Brett Boniface, over and over again involved in each one of these breakaway, trying to get a breakaway situations.
Yeah, and the S's are really underestimated. They're much harder than they look. They're up and down, so it stretches the peloton out. And I think this is a great opportunity if you want to prevent, if it's a big bunch like this coming into the final lap, the S's could be the last deciding factor.
Now looking through Talbot here now, it looks like, as well as Zimmerman. Evoke's been so incredibly quiet, and I think Evoke's been following wheels. I think they know the reality of the strength of the two teams out here that is Indoor Specialist. They're very familiar with them, and I think that they've been holding off, watching Canyon burn matches. Evoke not really involved, I don't think, in the overalls either at this point. So I think it's just an exhibition race for them as far as the results go. They're not quite as concerned, I would think, in the overall stand. Oh, excuse me on that. That is my mistake. Adam Zimmerman actually has 3 races. And with 4 to go, he can definitely get a result in the KALAS Cup. And he's sitting in 8th place overall. So my mistake, Adam Zimmerman is going to be working with Hodges here to try and grab some points, I would think. And I would think Hodges would be the one trying to set him up. And Zimmerman is one that's been very quiet to this point. He's also one that has won a national championship. I believe it was specifically on this drag right here. That I believe that when he won the U.S. national championship, it was on this specific drag of road, and he knows how to sprint obviously on this. Now, a lot of the other ones that are out here as well, Phillips and a few of the others, they're all very familiar with this section as well. So we'll have to wait and see, but I wouldn't count Zimmerman out if he's having a good day. I've seen him win some crazy sprints, even though being a light rider and not the pure wattage, he knows when to kick, how to kick, and the watts per kilogram do get fairly well rewarded out on Zwift.
Yeah, and another thing they could do is also try to get rid of some of the other Canyon guys so they don't have that lead-out train, because otherwise it's just going to be so difficult to surprise them. If he has 4 riders in front of him, James Phillips, he's going to have that perfect lead out again, and then it's just a fight to be up there in the top 5, because it's going to be a long sprint for sure. When we hit the downhill with 500-600 meters to go, they're going to hit 65 kilometers per hour, and it's just basically going to be all out from there on.
I mean, with the change-ups and the way that the sprints are going as well, I would not be surprised if we start seeing 6 to 7 watts per kilogram around the corner coming out of the Essies, actually. The nature of these sprints are changing with the number of riders that are at the kind of level that they're at this point. And, I think the reality of having these lead outs actually working at this point, how they're seeing them work out. We saw it with 2K to go. Diegner giving the kick last week, and now we do see Canyon. They took over for a moment there at the front. Now, it's going to be all about this final time over the KOM. This is going to be a make it or break it, though, for some of the riders that may be in the pack. We'll have to wait and watch and see who may want to give it a go here, who says, no, I don't have a chance in the sprint, and they're going to try and break away. There was a prediction here coming from Evan Benaway saying it's going to be Luke and Boniface for another breakaway attempt. Maybe Dempster get involved there again as well.
And this time it's for points as well. We've got to remember that 6, 4, and 2 points on the top. So this is going to create extra motivation for the peloton or the pack to create a breakaway situation here.
That is a great point, actually. And with that, now we do see it looks like Zimmerman now starting to make his way to the front a little bit, actually. It looks like KALAS, though, taking over. Vidar Mail, Ollie Jones, 9 watts per kilogram here. And there's 6 points is a pretty good kick in the in the standings. That's no joke, actually, for 6 points here. Vidar Mail, Jerks now, Jones now going as well. Fleeman is there. It looks like it's going to be KALAS now starting to take over. 8 watts per kilogram. We haven't seen this from them, actually. Maybe this is what they've been waiting for. 9 watts per kilogram. It looks like KALAS may be wanting these points, actually. 9 continuing to walk away now. And it looks like at 180 beats per minute with 1 second. Will that continue to open up, or will he fade on this section specifically? This little bit of a flat. A lot of times riders fade a little bit, but no, he is all in. 7 watts per kilogram. Continues with the speed here. He's got the gap. Now, I think this is just for the points. I believe with this kind of an effort, he may back off. Now, Alex West says this cannot be allowed to go away. He kicks into 8 watts per kilogram. Boniface now following the wheel here of Alex West. Maybe going to be able to get involved in a breakaway situation with the Canyon rider here. And at that point, it'll be interesting if they do end up. West will not work in that group, actually. If it does end up in a breakaway situation, it'll be only 2 actually working together. Boniface looking to go across here. It looks like Jersteth and Boniface. It may be happening here, but he's got to close down 2 seconds. West now backing off 2 watts per kilogram, as you can see.
Exactly.
And it looks like that was just about bringing the pack back up. It's all about creating that long line of riders so everybody's got a wheel. Almost what you never want to do when you're trying to create a breakaway situation. But that long ride of riders now all the way back to the peloton then creates a draft for everybody to come right back up. But Jerk says they're taking the 6 points. Boniface now, it looks like, I think he grabbed 3, if I'm not incorrect. Or no, 4 with second place over the top.
And then look at Alex West just backing off. That's just, again, genius tactics by Canyon. He's just putting the pressure on just to make sure that the gap doesn't go away. But then he backs off as soon as he sees there's a gap behind him, so he doesn't actually put James Phillips in the hurt box too early. So he's backing off and just making sure everybody is sitting on the wheel, and then they bring it back. So they're really, really clever the way they're doing it.
Now, Dempster, as you can see here, draft. This is starting to break up, though. Look at the back. Dempster shut things down there for a moment and comes through with some speed, makes sure that he's still involved. It's a little bit strung out, though. You can tell riders are hurting, just looking for a wheel. If somebody wanted to do something with that peloton not bunched up at this point, this would be the moment. But it's a huge risk at this point with only about 6 kilometers to go. If you gave, you'd have to give all in, and your race would probably be done. There's no recovery time. There is another sprint section, though, on the next lap. So, on this lap, there's one more sprint section, 4 points. So we could see some riders still fighting for that. If they, you're pretty much giving up the reality of the sprint, though, at the end, if you did do that, unless you try and go and break away. Because some of the other riders that are sprinting, Alex, they're going to be trying to rest at that point.
Exactly.
So
I wouldn't go.
Interesting.
I wouldn't go for the sprint the last time, but it is an opportunity to go straight. You go straight into the S's, so that's basically the best point. So if you want to go with the sprint, like instead of going forward, maybe go in 5th, 6th position, and then just go straight over the top in a counterattack as soon as you hit the S's. That's the best opportunity if you wanna win the race in a breakaway.
I'm seeing Sean McAfee. Sean, is that your prediction? A hot dog vendor? Somebody needs Sean McAfee. Good to see Sean in the broadcast here. And Sean, great little video there and about how you're going to unlock that Scott Spark, actually. Shout out to Sean. We're going to definitely highlight you in the weekly windup that we are still going to do this week. It's just going to come at the end of the week. We had some holdups there on a few things and announcements, but Definitely did see a lot from the community this past week, and we're definitely going to be shouting out what everybody's up to this weekend, as there is a whole lot going on this weekend into next week. So, and Boniface is saying, "Stop giving away the tactics" in the chat here, and that's our job, is to predict things. It's the nature of Zwift racing here. I'm getting that sense of like when the football coach covers up his mouth because people employed lip readers, or like there's just a reality of like this online environment space. Maybe we have to have a delay, like a serious delay on the stream, so that it's not as live, so that people aren't getting all the tactics as well.
We're just guessing the tactics, Nathan. We don't know them.
Yeah, we don't know them. I'm not giving away. You're gonna have to change it up then, Boniface, or change up from what we're saying, or maybe do what we're saying because everyone thinks you're gonna change up what we're saying. It's just super Inception at this point. But now toward the front end, it does look like it is going to be Indoor Specialist controlling things a little bit in the orange and blue, and I do see a dropouts rider there to the front there as well. Kalman from Fusion, very quiet as of recently.
And Kiersmeyer as well. Those two they've been really, really quiet, and they are really strong. So expect something from them in the final.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if we saw a little bit of an upset from some of these quieter riders that we haven't seen with a win as of recently. But they're going to have to follow the wheels very well of Indoor Specialists. Holden, as well as James Phillips. Those are the two that we're going to be watching out for out here today. Now it looks like Indoor Specialist taking over at the front. There's Holden, IS, with that U.S. National Champion kit. And it's interesting to see. It's UK versus the USA actually out here in some ways with the two teams, because it's Indoor Specialists up against the Canyon ZCC, the European mainly team against the mainly American team, actually. So pretty cool to see how this is working out here. Now, Evoke, though, is there as well with Hodges and Zimmerman still involved. Lots of riders that can still take this. We're coming to the line with about 50. We've got a sprint section through here. Are they going to go for it again is the question here, Alex.
That is the big question. Like I said, I wouldn't go for it, but if it's easy points, if you just gotta kind of roll over the line, you might as well take it. But I don't think we're going to see an intense sprint for this. I think people are going to really focus on that hill, the hit straight after the sprint. So into the S's, it's going to be really exciting to see if somebody want to split up the peloton, because it's the last time. And
look at how calm.
It's so strong. Yeah, it's
look
really
at how calm it is. Vang though. Ollie Jones now seeing maybe that somebody's about to go. Look, that's a cover move. Ollie is just covering. Vang is going, though, 12 watts per kilogram. Morton Vang. And this is a rider who has a serious threshold. Jones chasing it down. I think he may be looking to grab the points there for his teammate. And he does it. He gets the points for his teammate. Vang now
Great
going,
move.
though. Looks like Boniface looking to follow it. Are they going to continue on? Is the continuance there? Vang, 5.4 watts per kilogram. They have to kick again here. Indoor Specialist taking over at the front, setting up for Holden maybe. It's already starting to open up. We're still we're like 3 or 4K to go to the finish line, and already riders are getting antsy here to try and make something happen.
This is the best chance to really, really split the peloton or put the pressure on Canyon, because otherwise it's going to be a downhill section into to the sprint, and you're going to see Canyon just bunch up in the front, and you're going to see Phillips in fourth or fifth wheel. It's a perfect position for him. He's done it so many times. He could even come from like 10th position on a fast sprint like this.
Very true, very true. With how incredibly fast it is, how bunched up it can get, it's exactly, 10th position, 15th position, actually, with how many riders we have in here. But it's going to be all about that final kick in the last 200 meters, it looks like, as nobody was able to break away. When will the drag race open up? And here we go. Olsen, 3 watts per kilogram. The calm before the storm. L'Oreal, FCR now. Boniface now sitting in toward the front. We're going to watch this top 10 as closely as we possibly can, as that is where it's going to be all about, jumping from that section. Now, it's this fine line at this point that the riders are waiting and waiting. They don't want to waste too much effort, but if you find yourself too far back, you're already out of the race. It's such an interesting dynamic. It's a knife's edge a lot of times as to whether or not in your right position, and it takes so much talent to read the group.
And the heart rate is really, really high. I'm looking at Phillips, 175. I think it's really, really nervous. The adrenaline is pumping before the sprint, and they're really focused on getting the right wheel. Nobody wants to go for early, but we do see Team Canyon forming up the front, taking responsibility. And basically now they're pretty sure it's going to be a bunch sprint, and it's just a matter of how early they're going to do the lead out.
the swapping here now over and over again. But Diegner here, he was the lead out man that went first here. Holden's almost on the front, actually. Our indoor specialist not able to control. Here's the right-hand turn we were talking about earlier. Will they go from this far out? I'm expecting it to start ramping up at this point, but everybody may be very tired. It's 5 times over the top of that Watopia forward, and I have a feeling perhaps some of the riders are starting to feel it in the legs, and we're not going to have an early open up. Zimmerman is very well placed. Look at him, Zimmerman, 1.7 watts per kilogram. Here we go. They're going to have to start positioning. It looks like Coles is toward the front. Stinger now starting to go. It looks like 8 watts per kilogram. Bergen's there as well. Holden now, it looks like here, 8 watts per kilogram, making sure he doesn't get caught out up toward the front. Phillips is starting to open up. James Phillips is already starting to go. He's grabbing onto wheels. It looks like Alex West's wheel, though. I think that is all he was looking for, but it's going to be Poland. Piersga now going 14 watts per kilogram coming from Piersga now. Stevie Young looking to keep that close down. Here comes Phillips. 17 watts per kilogram from Phillips. Holden's on his wheel, though. Holden's holding onto his wheel. It might be Camille. Camille isn't going to make it happen, but no, it's going to be Jeldon's now coming on through, and it's the upset there from the Vikings. The
They
Vikings
got it.
upset it there, and right on his wheel. Evoke for second place. What a result there for the Vikings and Evoke. A big upset, actually, because the Vikings have been so quiet in the KALAS Cup. The boys coming out of Norway, I believe, and making it happen. Wow.
That is huge by the Vikings. Harvard Gjelnes is currently in 3rd place, so he's really going to move up, getting close to Martin Olsson, maybe even pass him. But it's going to be really, really exciting to see where he's going to end up in the final GC. But it's cool to see the Vikings back on top. They've been really, really strong, but they just haven't been able to take any wins so far in KALAS Cup.
Look, I mean, Phillips, he perfectly timed it, it looked like. But no, the Vikings come through. Where is he even? Where, I mean,
he's coming from 10th position, and then he's just timing it perfectly. So they must have put the hurt on Phillips. This must have been the most difficult KALAS Cup so far, that they can put so much hurt on Phillips that they can actually beat him in a sprint.
It looks like Hodge is just a little bit more than Luke G. Luke G was coming through there as well. Wow, I mean, look at how close this is, though. Amazing sprint here coming through, though, from the Vikings team, taking down the king, and it is Jeldon's. Hodge is right on the wheel there, holding, and it looks like right
close
at the line. I think the dropouts, after all of that, I think the dropout team was able to take that down. What an amazing, or not take down that the 3rd place there, with Hodges coming through for 3rd. So that was.
And I think Phillips was 5th just by eye test. We have to wait for Zwift Power to confirm it, but I think Phillips was 5th place here.
And looking through here, I'm just going to bring up the results here over on the live feed from ZwiftPower.com. Looking through for your comments as well. What an amazing race, you guys. That was one of the most exciting. You know, Watopia Hilly just never disappoints. Never, ever disappoints. It's always one of the best race courses. It has that kick in the middle that can break things apart, those high gradients. Havard Jeldons, Vikings team, coming out of Norway, takes it down almost a full second, or excuse me, not a full second, 0.8, never mind, 800ths of a second, actually. It was close. Brian Hodges was coming on like a freight train. Luc Jabert, looks like for the dropouts team, the new pickup, making it happen. And all of those early efforts there from Boniface as well as Swart, making things happen for the dropouts. And they're putting themselves on the radar now with that. Brake Bergen, 5th place there. Holden for indoor specialists there, now taking 4th. Phillips all the way back in 7th place, actually, on the day. Interesting to see. Really falling backwards after that initial kick.
Yeah, that must be with all the intermediate sprints as well. But it's nice to see that the James Phillips can be taken down. He's been really dominant, so it must give some motivation to teams like Vikings but also Team KALAS. Now they've seen that they actually put the hurt on him and they're able to beat him. So that's going to be really cool for the next KALAS Cup.
100%. I am working on bringing the women up onto the screen. I am working on it as we speak right now. We do see there's an attack. Leah Thorvaldsen is looking to close it down. We want to make sure as we do bring it up, there's I think we do have it here. And yes, we do. Whew. It's saved. Jennifer Real, thank you for your comment, you guys. And apologies, you guys, on not being able to cover the women's race just a little bit of there's been a couple of bugs that we've been trying to work out on the double on the double broadcasts. But as the race finished and we're into the last lap, we are able to bring it back in onto our main feed. Our second feed is just having has had some struggles as of recently. So thanks for your patience on that, and we are back in. It looks like Cecilia Hansen, Heino, the domination of Heino. It looks like this has been continued here in this race. Leah Thorvaldsen, though, from Team Turbo. I've seen her very aggressive on my second feed over and over again out here today. And it looks like Thorvaldsen here, Team Turbo, trying to shut things down. This looks like a warm-up to the Tour Watopia that's about to be coming here, as I think some of these riders are using this to kind of, see who's who amongst the women out here today.
Yeah, I think for sure Cecilia Hansen and Whitelaw and Louisa Haubach from Denmark, the three girls from Team Heino, they're going to be really ready for the Tour of Utopia. They've been the dominant force in the past Pro-Am Tour on Zwift, and I think they're going to do the same thing again. Just to put it into perspective, I saw Cecilia Hansen participating in Danish Bike Riders Winter Cup, and she was actually able to stick with the top Cat A guys until the final lap. So that was pretty impressive. So she's really, really strong.
Hugely impressive. Mason, though, here now. Hansen now coming across, though. Heino now trying to, just getting caught, giving a little kick. It looks like McKay from Turbo. She hung on until this final lap. Now dropped off, but her teammate Thorvaldsen here, the winner of the first ever Zwift Academy on the women's side here, now riding for Team Turbo in Zwift, looking very strong, actually. And, I think that some of these ladies are saying, no. Heino domination is done. At least that's what they're trying to make happen here, from what you can see. And Vicky Whitelaw here with the new kit in game. I don't think there's going to be a guest rider any longer at this point. They're going to be showing up in force, I believe, under that team name. Now we do see the Swedish national champion, though, Hansen now making her way to the front. But we still have Kristen Falk. And I actually saw a couple of write-ups on Falk, both from Canyon ZCC's socials, as well as I believe on some of the more local magazine sites out there, specifically on her efforts for Canyon ZCC in the world of Zwift. And I think Falk is really coming on to some form as of recently. This is a result that I'm seeing from her specifically by making this lead pack amongst these elites. I mean, having the two Heino girls in here and then Mason along with, Zwift Academy winner, Falk has shown that she's on level now.
Yeah, definitely. If she can hang with these girls here, she's definitely on shape for the Pro-Am series. And also, just in general, we've been seeing the women's as well as the men's level just increasing as everybody's pretty excited about the coming World Championships on Zwift. So we see a lot of new people on Zwift. I do, especially here in Scandinavia. I see a lot of new people on Zwift just motivated by getting that rainbow jersey on Zwift.
Now, quick little shout out, Claudia Baring, early on in the race, I saw her doing a lot of work. She is dropped off on this, but I definitely want to give a shout out to Claudia, as we saw her involved in a lot of the shutting down of attacks, I believe, specifically to support her teammate, Kristen Falk. We see her off the back here at this point, but they're, Canyon ZCC, not only on the men's side are they, this well-oiled machine, but also on the women's side, they put in the effort to make sure that their team is involved. And so Claudia here looks like they're just going to roll in, but she's gotten her work done, and she's gotten Kristen into this final pack here at this point, though. Did McKay come back? McKay with the... Wow. That is an effort from Helen McKay. Turbo's got two involved now, and they might have a little bit of a mini lead-out train here to try and take down the Heino girls.
And as we talked about last time, the tactics is very, very different coming into a sprint with a small bunch like this instead of the big group of 50 or 60 we saw with the men's. So it's very, very different how you approach the sprint. And that's also why you're able to come back here as a solo rider, get dropped. Normally, you never come back to the peloton. But because there's so few in the front, you're actually able to come back even if you have like 10-second gap up to the peloton. So that's probably what we're seeing here. We're seeing everybody just anticipating the sprint, just relaxing a little bit, getting their heart rate down and just waiting for the right time to punch in the sprint. 7
riders in the pack. We've got about 4.5K to go here at this point. They've got the sprint point through that, and like you said, this changes things up a lot. We do have a lot of opportunity to break away at this point. If nobody wants to chase, you don't have this large pack with a lot of different bodies to make chases at this point. There's 2 teams that have an extra rider to do some work. And then from that point, it's who wants to do the work. It's a lot more of, woman versus woman here out here. Who can try and chase the other down out there today. And, a little bit of tactics there with Haute, being able to work together. But, beyond that, there's a lot more opportunity to just break your opponents.
Yeah, definitely. Also, the S is coming up. We're going to have the same situation again with the sprint. Are they going to go for the sprint? It's going to be probably a really, really late punch for the sprint. But then we go straight into the S's, and that's a really good opportunity, especially when the speed is a little bit lower than it was in the bigger peloton we saw before. You actually have a chance to stick the sprint, like go really late for the sprint, and then just keep punching over the S's.
Yeah, it's a good point actually, that with this situation without a large pack, this sprint could be a double up. Take the sprint, launching pad, win the race. There's an opportunity, much more opportunity to take a flyer here and just win outright. We'll have to see how this ends up working out. Kristen Falk now keeping things very calm. 3.1 watts per kilogram. Turbo, it looks like, are really controlling the pace. We see them on the front a lot, or maybe just making sure that they are ready for any attack. I think they're watching for Haute to launch. I do still think that amongst the ladies here, they are mainly thinking about the strength of Haute, though, in this pack.
Definitely. They're always looking out for the orange numbers on the right side. That's actually something I've been heard some people thinking about. They try to, when they attack, they try to just stay under the orange numbers just so they don't alert anyone. So it's kind of a sneaky way to attack. If you know exactly how much what you watch per kilos are, you just stay under the orange numbers, and then you can kind of sneak away.
That is a great, that's actually really great. This little sneaky, so it's almost like you hide off the left-hand side. Don't really let anybody know you're going. Only the front 3 know you've really gotten away. And next thing you know, there's a gap opened up, as long as you don't punch into the orange numbers. Not sure how often that actually works out, though, if people actually do it that way.
We do, when we're racing, we always look out to the right side. And if you see orange numbers, we kind of react to that.
Now, did we have a rider come back, or was Nguyen here now from Cryogen? Was this rider out of China? Were they actually interesting to see? No, not China. Excuse me. Got the flag actually totally wrong here, but interesting to see. Had they just disappeared? Kristen Falk now wants the points. She wants these points. That's what this is about. She grabs 3. Whitelaw going across here now. We got another rider, though. Now there's 8. Now Whitelaw gets a little bit of a gap. Is she going to back off? Is she going to continue? McKay shutting it down maybe for Leah Thorvaldsen here. 8 watts per kilogram. It looks like Turbo looking to stay involved. And everybody very vigilant here at this point. Looking through the current standings quickly here. Kristen Falk currently sitting, it looks like, in second place overall. Louis Furzan is not here today. She's got 5 races in. Kristen Falk, this is for the series overall, actually, as it looks like if she could take this down. But 3 points behind her, Vicky Whitelaw. It's Vicky Whitelaw versus Kristen Falk for the series overall right now. Vicky Whitelaw has 4 races, 159 points. Kristen Falk, 5 races and 162 points. Kristen Falk needs to grab as many points as she possibly can, because she needs to open up quite the gap, up to 35-point gap over Vicky Whitelaw, actually. And this isn't just about win. I mean, she needs to win outright against Vicky Whitelaw out here today.
Yeah, she definitely needs to win on the line. Of course, we have to calculate with the intermediate points as well. But if we just go by the final sprint, she has to win. It's basically whoever wins the final sprint is gonna go into the lead of the race, as Ferguson is not participating today.
Yeah, most likely. We don't have the points over the top. I do believe. Who took the points over the top on this last lap? I'll have to double check after the sprint here, as it's about to open up here. But Kristen Falk now 3.0. Thorvaldsen now starting to take over. McKay as well as Thorvaldsen, a little bit of a wrench in everything for them here today, as we are seeing also Mason, though, from Fearless, maybe also going to be one to be watching out for as she comes on through. Polly now 1.8 watts per kilogram, 173 beats per minute. Looking at the heart rates, Kristen Falk, 164. Hansen now 163. Everybody is suffering, I think, at this point. I don't think anybody is. Look, everyone's at threshold. Nobody is comfortable. They are all working to hang on and get well set up into this final sprint. We're about to take the right-hand corner. Any predictions here? Who do you think's going to take it here, Alex?
I'm gonna go for Cecilia Hansen. I saw her racing with the best of the men 2 days ago, so she's really on form at the moment. Unless she's gonna work for Vicky Whitelaw in the sprint, I think Cecilia Hansen is gonna take it, the Swedish champion.
We'll have to wait and see as we come into the final 500, 600 meters here at this point. Vicky Whitelaw may be going to be the one. It might just be about team tactics for the series, or Cecilia Hansen just to say, no, it's just better that I win outright out here today. Haino versus Turbo is kind of the story, but Kristen Falk with Canyons ECC does not have the lead out train like we saw on the men's side of things, but she needs these points. All of the jitters there. Whitelaw now 0 watts per kilogram, waiting for the moment to pounce here now. Kristen Falk right next to her. Look at the Canyons ECC rider just sitting on Hansen now, starting the lead out. I think that's what's going on here. 4.8 watts per kilogram here coming from Hansen now. McKay from Turbo. Nobody's opened up. It might be just the person who goes first here at this point. There's the 300 meters to go banner. Here goes Falk. Hansen now trying to follow it up. Falk now 8 watts per kilogram, 10 watts per kilogram. It looks like. Will she get the little bit of a gap that she needs? Lil Thorvaldsen has 12 watts per kilogram. Thorvaldsen absolutely hammering out here today. Will she be able to take this down? Vicky Whitelaw, though, showing why Haino is dominant. Cecilia Hansen didn't want to grab the points, it looks like, and she just kicks, though, to try and take things down. It's a 1-2-3 across the line with Thorvaldsen grabbing second there. Falk opens it up early, was seeing that perhaps, that's what it looked like, that she was like, maybe I have an opportunity right here to take this down. Let's take a quick look at how that played out. Falk went very early, but look at the fade, 4 watts per kilogram. She can see them coming on with 11 watts per kilogram from Thorvaldsen. I thought Thorvaldsen might be able to take it down as she opened things up in 11 watts per kilogram. We saw Hansen, though, and Whitelaw 12, though, over the top. Comes right on through, perfectly timed in the last 100 meters. You do see Cecilia Hansen now with a second kick. I think you were right there. I think she was holding off to try and make sure that she didn't steal the points from Vicky, but ends up in third place. Maybe. Don't want to take anything away from Leo, because that was a strong kick from Thorvaldsen there, though, actually across the line.
It did look like Cecilia Hansen was just putting on the tempo, just doing a little bit of a lead out, and then she kicked it, and she actually finished in between Falk and Whitelaw, so she actually helped increase the gap for Whitelaw. So I think she's going to be in the lead of the KALAS Cup.
I'd have to agree, as Vicky Whitelaw took down the win there out there today. Looking at the results from what we can see here, Vicky Whitelaw there, 15-11, back from, excuse me, not 15-11 is not what we're looking for. We're looking for actual results. Those are the live results. Looking for the updated results for the women's side of things over at ZwiftPower.com. We're going to have to wait for that, and we'll just use the live ones for now. But it is Vicky Whitelaw, followed up by Leo Thorvaldsen for second, Cecilia Hansen. Polly Mason able to grab the next spot above Kristen Falk. Kristen Falk falling back to 5th place. Helen McKay for Turbo after clawing her way back. That was quite the effort there. And this rider who maybe had a network issue, I'm not positive, because suddenly she popped back into the race coming out of Vietnam, actually. So I got that flag wrong earlier. Apologies on that. But V. Nguyen here now coming through and in the final spot across the line amongst the women's race out there for that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th place. Solid result there for Team Cryogen. So that is going to be it for us here in the KALAS Cup. If you do want to check out the replays, if you're just jumping in, head on over to our YouTube or our Twitch or our Facebook. You can catch all the VODs there as well. Alex, amazing racing. Obviously, some of the best racing each and every week. KALAS is doing an amazing, has done a great job with this series. And the winners today, Vicky Whitelaw, along with the big upset there coming from the Vikings team with Zeldins coming on through just ahead of Brian Hodges.
Yeah, the conclusion of today's race is that they finally got the best of James Phillips and Vikings. Big congrats to them, and it's just going to motivate the other teams for the next KALAS Cup.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Big motivation, I think, for the other teams, seeing that the Vikings can pull it off, as they've been very quiet as of recently. showing that Canyon ZCC does have a little bit of a chink in their armor. They're going to have to go and polish things up before next week. So next up, we are going to be having the Warrior Race. That's going to be here in just about 2.5 hours. That is the KALAS Sports Warrior Race. Make sure to hit those follow buttons, notification buttons, wherever you are watching, YouTube, Twitch, or Mixer, or Facebook, in order to get updates on any time that we do go live. And you can jump on in. You still have time to sign up, obviously, for the KALAS Sports Warrior Race. Fast laps, I believe we are out. There's 4 laps on the volcano, I believe. 4 laps on the volcano. So make sure to tune in for that. Then obviously the tour of Watopia starting this weekend. Sunday, we're going to have some Pro-Am racing. So I'll be on commentary for that. Make sure to go follow Zwift Live for the updates on that. Alex, we will see you next week. Thanks as always for jumping in with us.
Thanks a lot. It's been a pleasure, Nathan.
Of course, of course. All right, Alex. And that was Alex Rasmussen. Make sure to check out Danish Bike Riders for all of the updates for what they are doing and he is doing with their broadcasts as well. Great job to all the racers out there, and be on the watch out for our late weekly windup this week. It is going to be coming, though. There was a couple of holdups on what we could and could not put out there, but a lot of updates on their way in the weekly windup. So we'll be wanting to watch out for that. And we'll see you this weekend for the tour of Watopia. See you in a couple hours for the race with KALAS Sports. And as always, everybody, great job to the racers. Nathan Guerra, Zwift Community Live. Right on.